Good morning. I am calling to order our regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole. My name is Elizabeth Glidden, and I'm the chair of this committee, and I'm joined by Councilmembers Reich, Bender, Andrew Johnson, Yang, Quincy, Fry, and Palmisano, and we are a quorum of this committee, able to do the committee's business. I want to say thank you to our guests and welcome, and we are beginning now. We have two brief items at the beginning of our agenda, and then we'll have a longer discussion about the business plan for the Information Technology Department. The first item is a consent item. It is a return to this committee of a request for our staff to write a letter of support designating Minnesota as the official site of Expo 2023. And so I would move approval of this item. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in approval, please say aye. 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 Opposed? And that item is approved. The next item is a significant item, but what we are doing is just a piece of our process around this item. It is regarding the Working Families Agenda. And what we would be doing as part of this item is referring to staff an ordinance amending Minneapolis Code of Ordinances by adding a new Title 7.5 entitled Working Families, adding provisions relating to earned sick and safe time and fair scheduling, and then B, setting a public hearing for the November 4, 2015 Committee of the Whole meeting to consider an ordinance amending the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances by adding a new Title 7.5 entitled Working Families, adding provisions relating to earned sick and safe time and fair scheduling. And I will note, in addition to this, that we do have on the city website an early policy framework that had asked for comment to be submitted by October 16th, and we are asking our staff to help show us an ordinance shortly after that date, which we will then discuss in our next Committee of the Whole prior to November 4th meeting. So with that, I will go ahead and move this item and then see if there is discussion on it. And I'll note that David Frank, our Director of Economic Development, is either in this room or just outside. Oh, there he is. He is here if people have questions. Discussion on that item? Seeing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that item, that hearing is set and that ordinance is referred to staff for the work that I described. Next, we have a presentation from our Information Technology Department on its business plan for the next 5 years. Mr. Dahl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, Otto Dahl, CIO for the City of Minneapolis. I was not expecting to be up here so quick. Oh, come on. Thank you.
And excuse me, I forgot to do another piece of procedure, which is I am turning the chair over to Councilmember Andrew Johnson, as this is part of the Information Technology Subcommittee. So thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
Oh, thank you, Madam Vice President.
There we go.
All right, Mr. Dahl.
Yep, Chair Johnson, thank you. The Information Technology Department is in a position where we feel that the sort of technologies we can bring to bear to help the city workforce and ultimately the departments that they're within transform the way that we can service the public, as well as being in a position to improve our internal processes and to seek out new and innovative ways to accomplish things in city government. We feel, and our vision is to transform Minneapolis through technology. And in particular, we're focused on what is needed by departments relative to their goals and strategies for achieving their mission and their vision. In particular, what we'd like to do is empower employees through the use of technology tools. It's important for us to understand that once tools are put into place and people start using them, we have to ensure that they operate efficiently, effectively, and at an acceptable cost. And so it's very important for us to ensure that in our services and in the ultimate operations of the IT infrastructure that that takes place. We also want to ensure that we increase the usage of tools that we already have in place. Often, unless there is an active campaign to ensure that all workers understand what's available to them and how tools can be used, they don't always get the full use, and we want to make sure that we get a sufficient return on investment for those tools that we have made available to them. And then finally, through our digital equity efforts, we want to ensure that Minneapolis residents, in essence, can participate in the digital society because they will have the tools, the skills, and the motivation to gain value from that digital society that our culture has been creating in the last few decades. In particular, we want to provide better services in ensuring that people understand how to get to technology and the capabilities that they can provide. We want to be in a position of automating as many of our business processes as possible because that leverages our staff and our resources the most. We also want to ensure that, again, I tell my staff, it's like a light switch. You know, people know, they look at it, they know what it's for, they know how to turn it on, and the lights come on when you flip it on. And so that's the way people view technology. We take it for granted that it works, and that it works efficiently and effectively, and it does what one expects. And so we have to strive for that same level of accomplishment with what we do in the IT department. Needless to say, what we provide has to really give value to departments. And so we want to be in a position of listening to departments and ensuring that we are meeting their needs with technology. Another big area is the ability for folks to share information, not just within departments, but also with the public. And sharing information can be anything from, if you will, the raw information or the raw data, to putting information in meaningful context for people. And so there is a number of tools that we have acquired over time and that we will continue to make use of and seek out to allow the staff and ultimately the departments to share better, more effectively, not only amongst themselves and with other departments and other government units, but also with the public. We want to be in a position of decreasing the digital divide as it exists in the city today, because again, we feel we need the population to be reaping the benefits of the digital society that has sprung up around them. And then finally, that last bullet, we want to help the city garner more effective environment for people to go out and actually find a job, possibly pursue a career in IT. Obviously, we have an internal motivation because we are a hirer of such talent, but we think it's very healthy for the community, for the business community, and for people in general to consider IT as a career and to help them get that sort of training and orientation to be a possibility with their lives. So to kind of wrap up an orientation of our business plan, we're very focused on helping people in the decision-making processes, decisions whether that is policy, operational, or what have you. What we're looking for is, we feel that, if you will, we have to digitize the city, understanding that that data can, if it is as real-time as possible and as integrated as possible, gives people insights that they might not otherwise get in support of better decision-making on the part of employees and ultimately the departments that serve the public. We also, as I was mentioning, that IT infrastructure, that's exactly what it is. It is infrastructure. It's like the roads. It's like our water transport system. We turn on the tap, we expect clean water. You have IT infrastructure in place. Our interaction with each other in the city, as well as interaction with the public, has to be reliable, has to be effective, and it's something that people will expect to be there in the future. And then finally, it all, to us, boils down to the employees. They're the ones who get the work done. And so if we can leverage IT to give them the tool sets, the capabilities to do their job the best, then that just improves city government's effectiveness. And finally, in the digital equity space, to us, people need to have a degree of digital literacy these days to improve, whether it's their family, their community, their businesses. And we need to ensure that all the residents of Minneapolis are participating, that they have the wherewithal, if you will, the tools, whether it's the access to the internet or other sorts of capabilities, that they know how to use it, take advantage of those tools, and then ultimately they see the value and they seek out that value through, again, the digital society that has sprung up around all of us. And so that, in a nutshell, is where our business plan is focused. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Council President Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for being late, and if you've covered this, I'm sorry. Where are we in the transition from our vendor that we had for all these years and our new system of bringing more of our activities in-house?
Mm-hmm.
And before you answer that, I do want to just also point out that I've asked Mr. Dahl to provide an update to the subcommittee within the next few weeks on our transition as well, more detailed, but please go ahead.
Chair Johnson, Councilmember Johnson, we have been transitioning from our current provider, which is Unisys, to OneNeck. Today, we have 63% of the IT assets of the city over within the OneNet world. We're almost 100% staffed for the two functions that we brought back into the city, i.e. the service desk, or if you will, the help desk, as well as desk side support. We are on track to have everything converted over to OneNeck, the new provider, by the end of November. And on November 30th, when people call the service desk or they seek help in their office, those people attending to that, answering the phone and showing up, will be city employees. So we will be doing a cutover to the new provider at the end of November.
Any additional questions? Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Dahl, for the presentation of the business plan. With that, I'm going to turn the chair over to Council Vice President Glidden.
Thank you. Whoops, there was another, and when she.
I'll quick, we have to receive and file this. So seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, let's receive and file. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Johnson. The last thing on our agenda is to go through the reports of committees that have met during this cycle, and the first is Claims Committee with Councilmember Goodman as the chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. So the big news out of the Claims Committee this cycle is that we're moving to eliminate the Claims Committee. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is keeping the committee structure in place, but referring all of the appeals that come to the Claims Committee to the staff claims process. We did have, I thought, a very fulsome conversation with members of the committee about whether or not this was something we should be in the business of doing, and we determined that the Risk Management Department, along with the City Attorney's Office, does a very good job. The number of claims have been dropping substantially. We only now meet 2 times a year. And then it made sense for us to now transition that to the City Attorney's Office as well as the Risk Manager's Office. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Claims Committee used to be the committee that all the junior members were stuck with. Council President and Vice President and I determined that we should make the Claims Committee the committee that the senior members were serving on. And part of our goal was to try to figure out how to do it better, and I think this will get us to that point. That said, we did take up 5 claims yesterday. All of them were denied except for item number 4, which was authorizing a payment to a woman who had had a fairly substantial trip and fall situation where she broke 4 of her teeth and incurred $20,000 in damages as a result of a defective sidewalk. So there are 5 items for us to take up tomorrow. The item of the future of the Claims Committee is not in front of the full council because we're not actually eliminating the committee from existence. The committee will stay in place as it pertains to policy issues. So I'm happy to answer questions about any of the claims items.
All right, I'm not seeing questions. So next we have Community Development and Regulatory Services with Councilmember Goodman.
We have 7 items in front of us tomorrow in the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee. Items 1 and 2 and 3 are land sales. Item number 4 is the licenses and consumer services agenda. These are the business, liquor, and gambling license applications. Item 5 is a license settlement conference. Item 6 is a rental license reinstatement. And item number 7 is the University Avenue Innovation District resolution. With that, I'm happy to move all those items.
Okay, well, for tomorrow. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that's Friday. And I'll also note, because Councilmember Gordon was looking at me funny, I know it sounds like we took this up already, but it's coming back to us after going through zoning and planning and TMPW. The Innovation District has not passed the full council yet. It's been through many, many committees, and it's coming back to its home committee for final approval.
Okay, thank you. And I believe next there's the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee with Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much. And that was intended to be my normal look. I'm sorry if I was looking at you. It's just how I am, I guess. The Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee is bringing 1 item forward on Friday for approval, and that's just authorizing an agreement with the Center for Climate Change and Health to accept $30,000 to address public health and climate change in Minneapolis. We also received a very interesting presentation about the Rethink Your Drink campaign, which people can see online, but it doesn't take any council action, so it's not coming forward on Friday. And that's all I have. Happy to take questions.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Gordon. Next, we have the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee with Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I was not there for that meeting, and so Councilmember Gordon chaired that, and so I'll defer to him.
Okay, Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. I was at the meeting, and we're bringing 3 items forward on Friday from the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee. One is authorizing a revenue agreement to do bomb detection services for the University of Minnesota for the Vikings games. And then the second item is to do the same for the college Gopher football games. Both of these are at the TCF Stadium. And the third item is accepting a grant of $10,980 from the 4th Judicial Court in Hennepin County for continuation of officer and clerical support for the DWI court for 1 year. We also heard a presentation at the committee that was very interesting. I encourage people to check this out, but the Police Conduct Oversight Commission submitted their recommendations for the body camera policies, and we received that report and did some discussion, but there's no action that will be coming about that to the council on Friday. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Transportation and Public Works. With that, Chair, Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee will be forwarding 8 items for full council consideration. Item 1 is the sanitary sewer service availability charge, also known as the SAC charges. Item 2 is the 18th Avenue Street reconstruction project layout and easements. Item 3 is the petition to acquire or use of right-of-way of a rail line. The following items are referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 4 is the Central Corridor Light Rail Transit Project Subordinate Funding Agreement with Metropolitan Council. Item 5 is a bid for hauling and disposal of agricultural lineman materials for activities of the department. Item 6 is the bid for FSP cones and influent flume rehabilitation project phase 3. Item 7 is a bid for a pump station 5 window replacement project. And the final item 8 is a bid for a revised signal system and pedestrian curb ramp improvements for the city. I will stand for any questions, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Reich. Not seeing questions, then we have Ways and Means Committee report with Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Ways and Means has 10 items for consideration on Friday. The first 2 are legal settlements. The third item is a gift acceptance to attend the Policy Link Equity Summit. Item number 4 is the Minnesota Historical Society Certified Local Government Grant Acceptance. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with Honeywell for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and that's at the Convention Center. The item number 6 is also at the Convention Center. This is a lighting control system upgrade project, accepting a low responsive bid, Premier Electrical Corporation. Number 7 is the IT contract amendment with Sierra Cedar, and this is relating to critical staff support for the Comet system. Item number 8 is a contract with Wilder Foundation to conduct the 2016 and the 2018 residence survey. And items 9 and 10 are collective bargaining agreements. One's with the Trade Journeyman Bargaining Unit, and the other unit is the Machinist Bargaining Unit. Happy to answer any questions on those 10 items.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Quincy. And finally, we have the Zoning and Planning Committee with Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 5 items from Zoning and Planning. The first is an interim use permit for the Root Sports Center at 1901 44th Avenue North. The second is an interim use permit for an excavation company at 2 Dowling Avenue North. The third is denying 2 appeals for a development project at 2464 Upton Avenue South. There's a lot of details on the agenda, but this needed a conditional use permit, and we made some adjustments through conditions to that at the committee. Item number 4 is vacation of part of an alley for the Church of St. Albert the Great. And item number 5 was a discussion item where we had an update on the 1 to 4 unit residential development ordinance that Councilmember Palmisano authored last year, as well as a staff direction to provide some stricter scrutiny around how people were using existing basement foundations to kind of get around those rules, frankly. So that ordinance has been very successful in resulting in the goals that set forth. So we will have those 5 items.
All right, thank you. With that, we have concluded with our committee reports and finished with our agenda. I want to thank again so many guests for being with us today. I think many of you, my belief is, were here for the Working Families agenda item, which we took care of at the very beginning and set our public hearing for November 10th. So thank you. With that, we are adjourned.